All right, PFT Live Thursday edition. We've been talking about Aaron Rodgers, his surprise appearance yesterday, and it was a long one. I watched like at least an hour, and they were talking about Game of Thrones and other stuff too. It got to the point where it was no longer relevant to anything that we would care about, but it was a long, extended appearance for a guy who had said nothing since the season ended. He was asked at one point about whether he's going to play, and his answer included the question of whether or not he's spoken with new coach Mike McCarthy and Steelers general manager Omar Khan about playing for the Steelers in 2026. Here's what he said.
I've talked to Mike. I've talked to Omar. There's been no deadline that's been put in front of me. There's no contract, offer or anything. So there's nothing that I'm, having to debate between. I'm free agent, and again, I'm enjoying my time with my wife and enjoying this part of the off season, and I think there's conversations to be had down the line, but right now I'm not there hasn't been any progressive conversations. I love Mike, and Mike and I have kept in contact over the years. I've had conversations with Omar. I really, I think Omar enjoyed having me there. I think the guys had a positive response, to our time together. But again, there hasn't been any deadline set on me.
Yeah, I don't know what progressive conversations are or aren't, but I don't expect anything. The posture is very simple. We want you. Let us know when you've made up your mind as to whether you're going to play. Contract doesn't matter. They're not going to make him a contract offer. If he comes back, he's going to tell them what he's playing for. And he took $13 million last year. He's not going to try to break the bank. He understands that at this stage of his life, he doesn't need the money. He already did them a favor once. He's not going to come back and say, well, I played really well last year. I want $40 million. It's going to be the same kind of contract. Those are all details that get worked out. For now, the question is, do you want to play in 2026, and will it be for the Steelers? And they seem to be content to wait for him to let them know. But they think it'll happen faster than it did last year. I don't know what they base that on, but they think it will happen more quickly.
Well, that's where just their approach, it is a little odd to me. I understand last year because the Steelers had cornered themselves into the point of no return where they're like, if we don't have Aaron Rodgers, we don't have anybody. So we have to wait. This is early in the offseason. I mean, everything's available. And it's, a little bit where I guess as me, a guy that's followed football my whole life, I'm going, is it me or are they acting like he's one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in football? And they're like, hey, hold on, wait up. Whenever you're ready, just to tell. And I'm like, what are we doing? That's just what's odd to me. And that's where I go back again to, like, the Steelers. It feels like they're kind of going like, this is just a chalk it up year. We're going to try to get the organization recalibrated here in Mike McCarthy's first year, and we'll see where it goes from there. And I'm almost a little surprised in the way I look at it. Just go, does Aaron Rodgers feel really good about that? They got some people they need to re-sign on their football team. So, and we know the offense didn't have crazy weapons to begin with. The defense has got some age issues, as we've talked about. So the Steelers are just in this weird spot. But the fact that they're going, we're willing to wait and do all of that is just, yes, odd to me and giving me signals that they're going, no, this is kind of a soft rebuild year here right now. And we're okay if you come back and just hold down the fort for us and sell tickets and we get a little notoriety out of it for the year so we can set ourselves up to be really good in 2027.
I also think that they know that he knows what he ultimately wants to do. Last year, he wanted to go to Pittsburgh, not because it was his lifelong ambition to play for the Steelers, but because he wanted to play for Mike Tomlin. Mm-hmm. That's why the moment Tomlin left, okay, Rodgers isn't going to be back next year.
Yeah.
And, McCarthy does it. And here's what it comes down to. And he knows what he wants to do. He knows, and it's his absolute right to keep his plans to himself for now. He knows whether or not he has any interest in playing for Mike McCarthy again. He can say all the nice things he wants about Mike McCarthy. He knows whether or not he wants to do that again. He did it for more than a decade. He'll know whether he wants one more year with Mike McCarthy or whether he doesn't. He'll know. He already knows. It's yes or no. And last year it was, I want to go play for Mike Tomlin. This year, and we knew that. This year it's, well, I don't know. Does he want another year with Mike McCarthy or doesn't he? Does he want to have that on the way out the door? Is this a nice way to put a bow on his career? Get back together. There's a harmony to the whole thing. There's a poetry to the whole thing. He came to Pittsburgh for Mike Tomlin, and now lo and behold, the guy who was his first NFL head coach, the guy who didn't want him when he was the offensive coordinator in San Francisco. But I'd like to think Aaron Rodgers has gotten over that. It's been 22 years, but who knows? Who knows? But, he knows whether he wants that or not. That's the thing about this. This is the frustration I have. He builds these mysteries out of nothing. He knows what he wants. What's the big secret? You know what you want. And we're not going to sit around and say, oh, it's been 32 days since we last heard from Aaron Rodgers. Like, we're all moving on after this segment. We're moving on, and we won't be mentioning Aaron Rodgers until there's a report of him talking to a team or a team interested in him or the Steelers interested in some quarterback other than him. That's when he becomes relevant again.
Yeah, I hear everything you're saying. I do think, with players sometimes, and I agree, like, he knows what he wants. I hear you there. I think there's also, though, a part for players, and especially a player at his age, where he's just like, wait, can my body go through it again? I got to take myself back to week 12 when it was a grind and I was beat up and all of that. And
he broke his wrist.
And am I really ready to do that again? Am I ready to do that? And I do think with older players, there's a little bit of a time that you need to step away from the game and kind of recalibrate and go, wait, am I ready to do that? Am I ready to make that sacrifice again? Let me remember all the tough times and when I woke up in the morning and was like, whoa, I don't know. Whoa, I can barely move on a Wednesday and I got to practice today. So those are the things he's got to figure out because as we know, like if you're not willing to, deal with pain and tough times and all of that, it's just a sport where you got to be all in. And I think, that's some of the stuff that like a Travis Kelce's going through as well, where it's like, hey, I love the game and all the good stuff, but I got to remember it's not always good and it's really tough and it's a grind at times. And at this point in my career, do I want to go through that again? And that's where I think, maybe some guys like that in this situation are at this point of the offseason.
Yeah, when you get into your early 40s, the worst thing you could do is sign up for another year and then get to Halloween and say, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Why did I do this?
Yes.
I got this wrong.
Yeah.
I got this wrong. So, but still, he knows in his heart what he wants to do. And if the answer is no, then the answer is no. If the answer is, yeah, I kind of want to do this, but let's just see how I feel, that's a different story altogether. And again, he doesn't like the offseason program, and that's fine. I would assume that most of us, after 20 years of dealing with the offseason program, would decide, you know what, I know enough. I don't need to do this. I know Mike McCarthy's offense. I don't need to go there. Let the younger guys get the reps. Let them develop. I'll just do my thing. I'll enjoy my time to myself, and I'll be there when it's time to put in the real work. So, hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.